attended my sister's gender reveal party. She handed me the ultrasound proudly. Isn't she beautiful? I'm a radiologist. I looked at the image and my blood ran cold. I pulled her husband aside. We need to talk now. That wasn't a baby. My sister Emma handed me the ultrasound image at 2:47 in the afternoon. Her face was glowing with that specific kind of joy only expectant mothers radiate. She said the words that would change everything. Isn't she beautiful? I've looked at over 12,000 ultrasounds in my career. I can read them the way most people read street signs. Automatically. And what I saw on that glossy printout made my blood freeze. The shape was wrong. The density was completely off. That wasn't a baby's profile. It was something solid where nothing solid should be. But I kept my face completely still. 15 years of delivering bad news had taught me that skill. You learn to hide the horror that wants to crawl across your features because the wrong look at the wrong moment can destroy someone. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. The silence that followed the blackout wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, suffocating. For 3 seconds, the only sound in that sweltering glass conservatory was the hum of the air conditioning trying and failing to cut through the humidity. Then the chaos started. Mary, the woman running the clinic, didn't check the equipment. She turned on me with the speed of a viper. Her face, caked in foundation that was melting in the heat, twisted into a mask of professional outrage. "You just ruined the vibe," she hissed, loud enough for the front row to hear. "We were building to the heartbeat. Do you have any idea how much negative energy you just brought into this space?" I didn't answer her. I didn't look at the guests whispering behind their fans. I looked at my sister. Isla was trembling, her hands hovering over her stomach, her eyes wide and terrified. She looked like a child who had just been told the monster in the closet was real. Walker, her husband, was frozen. I grabbed Isla's wrist. "We are leaving," I said. My voice was low, flat, and left no room for argument. I grabbed Walker with my other hand. "Now!" I dragged them out of the conservatory, past the confused guests, into the slightly cooler air of the foyer. Mary followed us, of course. She wasn't going to let her payday walk out without a fight. "You can't just drag her away," Mary shouted. "She paid for the deluxe package. This is spiritual theft." I spun around. "That isn't a baby," I said. The words tasted like acid. I watched the keepsake video. I saw the pattern. "It's a snowstorm, Mary. Do you know what that means? It's a molar pregnancy. It's a tumor. And it's feeding off her blood supply right now." Isla made a sound that wasn't quite a sob. It was a gasp, thin and sharp. Before Walker could speak, the double doors swung open again. Walker's mother marched in. She was a woman who wore pearls like armor. "I knew this would happen," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "I told Walker you couldn't handle this day." I stared at her. "Excuse me. You're jealous, Penelope. It's transparent. You're 32, unmarried and childless. You couldn't stand to see Isla getting all this attention, could you? You couldn't stand that she's the one giving the family an heir." She turned to Isla, her expression shifting to a pity that felt more like disappointment. "Isla, darling, don't listen to her. She's manifesting negativity. You are under enough pressure as it is without your sister projecting her failures onto your womb. Go back inside. Finish the reveal. Do your duty." The toxicity was breathtaking. In 30 seconds, she had reduced a medical emergency to a petty sibling rivalry, and reminded Isla that her only value was her ability to produce a grandchild. I saw Isla's resolve crumble. She looked at her mother-in-law, desperate to believe the lie because the truth was too painful. I didn't scream. I stepped between Isla and his mother. I used my height. I used the cold, clinical detachment I reserved for trauma bays. "If you keep her here, she could hemorrhage," I said. "And if she hemorrhages, she could lose her uterus. Or her life. Is an heir worth a dead mother to you?" Walker's mother flinched. I didn't give her time to recover. I turned to Walker. "Drive the car around. We are going to the emergency room. Now." Walker ran. I put my arm around Isla's shoulders and guided her toward the exit. Mary was still standing there, mouth open, calculating her losses. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer," she called out. "This is slander." I didn't look back. Slander was the least of her problems. The emergency room was the opposite of the conservatory. It was cold. It was sterile. It smelled of antiseptic and reality. I stood in the corner of the trauma bay while the on-call OB-GYN, a colleague I knew and trusted, ran the wand over Isla's abdomen. The monitor was turned away from Isla, but I could see it. And there it was again, the snowstorm. The chaotic static of a complete molar pregnancy. There was no fetus, just a mass of cysts growing aggressively, filling the space where a life should have been. The doctor set the wand down. She looked at me, then at Isla. "It's not a viable pregnancy, Isla," she said gently. "It's a molar pregnancy. Tumor. We need to schedule surgery immediately." Isla didn't cry. She just stared at the ceiling tiles. "But I felt him kick," she whispered. "I felt him move, Penelope. How could I feel him if he wasn't there? Am I crazy? Did I just make it all up?" She looked at me, pleading for an answer. And that was the moment I realized the true depth of Mary's crime. She hadn't just stolen money. She had weaponized my sister's own biology against her. I sat on the edge of the bed and took Isla's hand. "You aren't crazy," I said. "You didn't make it up. You were hacked." I needed her to understand the architecture of the lie. It wasn't just gullibility. It was biology. "Your brain wanted a baby so badly that it hijacked your endocrine system," I explained. "It flooded your body with hormones, made your belly swell, it made your breasts tender. And then, confirmation bias took over. Every gas bubble, every muscle spasm. Your brain interpreted those signals as movement because that was the only data set it was willing to accept. You felt kicks because you were listening for kicks. And Mary knew that. Predators like Mary don't sell medical services. They sell validation. She saw a woman desperate to be a mother, and she provided the external evidence to match your internal desire. She showed you a picture, played a sound, and your brain did the rest of the work. She didn't have to be a good liar, Isla. She just had to be a mirror. Isla closed her eyes. A single tear tracked into her hairline. "I feel so stupid." "That's what she wants you to feel," I said. "She banks on the shame. But you aren't stupid. You were biologically manipulated. We are going to get this out of you. And then, I am going to make sure Mary never does this to another woman again." They wheeled her up to surgery 20 minutes later. I watched the doors swing shut, and the cold, clinical detachment I'd been maintaining finally cracked. But it didn't break into sadness. It hardened into a hunt. While Isla was in surgery, I sat in the waiting room with my laptop open. Mary had gone quiet, but the internet hadn't. My phone buzzed. A notification from Facebook. Mary's Miracles Imaging had posted an update. "To all our beloved clients, due to an unfortunate incident involving negative energy and aggressive behavior from a client's family member, we are forced to close early today. We believe in creating a safe, high-vibrational space for our mothers. Legal action is pending." Below the post, I saw a comment from Walker's mother. "So sad when family jealousy ruins a beautiful moment. Stay strong, Mary." The audacity was breathtaking. My sister was on an operating table, and her mother-in-law was publicly siding with the woman who had nearly killed her. It was a masterclass in deflection. Mary wasn't just a fraudster, she was a narcissist. My phone rang. An unknown number. "Is this Penelope?" The voice was male, slick. "This is Robert Vance. I represent Mary's Miracles Imaging." "I assume you're calling to apologize," I said. "I'm calling to inform you that my client is preparing a lawsuit for defamation and tortious interference," he said. "You caused a scene. You made false medical claims. My client is willing to drop the suit if you sign a non-disclosure agreement immediately and issue a public apology." "I made a diagnosis," I corrected. "And it was confirmed by a pathology report an hour ago. Would you like the case number?" "That's irrelevant," he snapped. "Sign the NDA or we will see you in court." "See you there," I said and hung up. My hands were shaking from rage. They were doubling down. I looked at the clock. Isla would be out of surgery soon. I had maybe an hour. I opened a new tab on my browser and typed in Mary's Miracles Imaging. I wasn't looking for reviews. I was looking for patterns. I went to the tagged photos section on Instagram. Hundreds of photos of happy couples holding up DVDs. I messaged 3 women who had posted about their miracle scans in the last month. "Hi, I'm a high-risk sonographer. Did you receive a digital file of your scan? Would you be willing to share the metadata?" My computer dinged. Response. A mom sent me a Dropbox link to her keepsake video. I downloaded the file. I opened it in video editing software. I zoomed in on the timestamp. The date on the file metadata was today. But the date burned into the video frame, faintly under a digital blur, was 4 years old. February 12, 2019. This woman had just paid for a scan yesterday. And Mary had given her a video of a baby recorded 4 years ago. Felt a chill. This wasn't just incompetence. This was a library. Mary wasn't performing ultrasounds. She was a DJ. She was mixing and matching pre-recorded hits to play for an audience that didn't know the difference. The surgeon came out then. She's stable. We got it all. He nodded. Closed my laptop. But I didn't close the investigation. Mary wanted a war. He just got one. And unlike her, I had the receipts. I sat there for 5 hours. I cross-referenced every single video file the moms sent me. 4 different women. 4 different pregnancy stages. All received the same 3 video files. File name, baby A4 file name. Heartbeat V3. It was a content library. Mary wasn't just downloading videos from YouTube. She had built a database of perfect moments to sell. She had automated fraud. She had removed the variable of biology entirely. It didn't matter if the baby was breech or sleeping. In Mary's clinic, the baby always performed. And because the baby always smiled, tumors grew unnoticed. I made a call to an old friend in digital forensics. I needed to know if the files had digital fingerprints. 10 minutes later he called back. Penelope, you're not going to believe this. The source URL for 3 of these videos is a stock footage site. She didn't even buy the rights. She screen recorded the watermarked previews and cropped them. I laughed. Cold, sharp sound. She was cheap. She was risking lives and couldn't even spend $20 on the high-resolution file. That was the nail. Negligence is hard to prove. But copyright infringement, fraud, selling stolen goods, that was felony territory. I went into the recovery room. Sla looked pale. Walker was holding her hand. Did you find out? She whispered. I found everything, I said. She was using stock footage, Isla. It was a download. Isla closed her eyes. So I really did mourn a ghost. You mourned a lie, I corrected. But your grief is real. What are you going to do? Walker asked. I'm going to finish it, I said. But I need to do something risky. Do it, Isla said. She opened her eyes. The fear was gone. Burn it down, Penelope. I left the hospital and drove straight to Mary's Miracles Imaging. It was closed. I pulled out my phone and dialed the lawyer, Robert Vance. This is Penelope, I said. I'm ready to talk about a settlement. Wise decision, he said smugly. My client is willing to forego the lawsuit if you sign the NDA and issue a public apology video by tomorrow morning. I can do that, I lied. But I want to meet her face to face. I want to apologize in person. Closure. Fine. Tomorrow at 10. At the clinic. I'll be there, I said. Mary thought she was getting a surrender. She didn't know that in a one-party consent state, a recording device is the most dangerous weapon in the room. I arrived at Mary's Miracles Imaging at 9:55. The waiting room smelled of lavender air freshener trying to mask the scent of stale ambition. Mary was sitting behind the reception desk. She looked at me with the weary patience of a teacher dealing with a toddler. You're early, she said. I like to be prompt, I replied. Is your lawyer here? Robert is on speakerphone. Do you have the apology video? I have something better, I said. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick envelope. I placed it on the glass counter. $10,000. Cashier's check. Mary's eyes flickered to the envelope. The weariness vanished, replaced by a sharp, predatory glint. Robert said the settlement was just the NDA, she said. What is this for? This is for the raw footage, I lied smoothly. My sister. She's sentimental. Even though it was a mistake, she wants the original files. And I want to make sure you don't release that security footage of me yelling. I can't have that impacting my medical license. Mary smiled. Cold, satisfied expression. She pulled the envelope toward her. I knew you were smart, Penelope. You understand how the world works. She opened the envelope, thumbing the check. You misunderstood what we do here. We aren't doctors. We're spiritual facilitators. That video. It wasn't a lie. It was a manifestation of the spirit baby. The heartbeat is the rhythm of the universe. It was an MP3 file, I said. File name heartbeat and the baby was a stock video from Pond 5. Mary didn't flinch. She shrugged, dropping the check into her drawer. It's theater. Does it matter where the image comes from if it makes the mother feel love? You call it fraud. Call it therapy. And clearly the market agrees with me. I made $450,000 last year selling peace of mind. You sold blindness, I said. You blinded my sister to a tumor that was killing her. Your sister was happy, Mary snapped. Until you ruined it. And now, thanks to this, you're going to help me expand. I'm opening a second location in Scottsdale. So you admit it, I said. You admit the videos are fake. I admit I give people what they pay for. Now get out. And if I see you again, I'll release that security footage to the medical board. Smiled. It was the first genuine smile I'd felt in days. You won't be contacting the medical board, Mary, I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. The screen was lit up. The voice memo app was running. South Carolina is a one-party consent state, I said. But that's redundant. Because I'm not just recording. I turned the phone around. It was a live stream. I'm on a call with Detective Miller of the Fraud Division, I said. He's been listening to you explain your business model. For the last 10 minutes. Mary's face went slack. She scrambled for the drawer, trying to shove the check back at me. You entrapped me, she shrieked. Robert. The phone on the desk remained silent. Robert had hung up the moment he heard the word detective. The front door chimed. 2 uniformed officers and a man in a cheap suit walked in. Detective Miller looked like he had a warrant. Mary Miller, he said. We have a warrant for your computers and digital archives. You are under arrest for grand larceny, fraud, and practicing medicine without a license. I watched as they cuffed her. As they led her past me, she lunged. You ruined everything. You jealous, barren bitch. I fixed it, I said calmly. I walked over to the wall of babies. I found the photo of Isla's baby. A blurry 3D printout labeled baby girl. I pulled it off the wall. I crumpled it in my hand. Then I walked out into the fresh air. The glass house was shattered. 3 months later, I stood in the doorway of what used to be the nursery. The yellow paint was gone, covered by a soft sage green. It wasn't a nursery anymore. It was a reading room. Isla was sitting in the armchair, looking out the window at the garden where Mary had staged her play. The grass had grown back over the spot where the black balloon had been. It's quiet, she said without turning around. It is, I agreed. Walker was downstairs making tea. The grief had changed him too. Stripped away the boyish eagerness and left something solid. I keep waiting for it to hurt less, Isla said. People say time heals, but I think time just makes the room bigger so the grief doesn't take up all the space. I sat on the floor beside her. I didn't offer platitudes. You're mourning a ghost, I said softly. Isla looked at me. Is that what it is? Am I crazy for grieving something that was never real? It wasn't a mistake, I said. You aren't mourning the biology, Isla. You're mourning the future. You're mourning the first day of school. The sound of a laugh you never heard. The person you thought you were going to be. Took a breath. When you saw that video, you built a world. And when the truth came out, it didn't just take away the pregnancy. It bulldozed that world. That is a death, Isla. The death of a dream is just as final as the death of a body. You are allowed to grieve it. Isla leaned her head back. I miss her, she whispered. I know she was a file on a hard drive. But I miss her. I know. And that's okay. You can love a ghost. That love was real, even if the object of it wasn't. Mary couldn't steal that. We sat there for a long time. Mary got 4 years, Isla said suddenly. And restitution. The clinic is a vape shop now. She looked at me then. You saved me, Pen. You saw the truth when everyone else was happy with the lie. Even me. I'd do it again, I said. In a heartbeat. The word hung in the air. Heartbeat. But it didn't sting anymore. Walker came in with tea. He saw us, 2 survivors in a quiet room, and he smiled. We were rebuilding. Not the life Isla thought she would have, but a life that was real. 6 months later, Isla and I started a non-profit. The Truth in Imaging Project. We worked to pass legislation requiring strict oversight for keepsake clinics. We didn't fix the world. Predators will always exist, but we made it harder for them to hide. And sometimes on quiet afternoons, I still sit with my sister. We don't talk about the baby that never was. We don't have to. We just sit together in a house that is finally truly safe. If you've ever had to protect someone by destroying a comfortable lie, or if you've had to rebuild after a false hope, share your story in the comments. Let's remind each other that truth, no matter how painful, is the only foundation worth building on.